Hello and welcome to our video. Today, me and my group will be presenting about our innovation project, which is AIM, the Balanced Chemical Equation Troubleshooter. First of all, I would like to introduce our group. Our group is from UiTM Sabah, branch Tawau campus. Our group leader, Nur Elisha Alia binti Ali. Our group members, Muhammad Aiman Nakyuddin bin Suzian, Akila Nur Adila binti Rudianto, Zuhaira binti Ishak, and last but not least, our facilitator, Haji Mulyadi Haji Guliling. Now I will let my group member to start on the introduction of our project.
How to write balanced chemical equation. The law of conservation of matter. A balanced chemical equation must always have the same number of each atom on both sides of equation. To balance this chemical equation, we have Fe plus O2 yields Fe2O3. This is a combination or synthesis reaction. Iron and oxygen come together to form the one compound. So to balance the equation, we first need to count the atoms up on each side. We have one iron atom and then two oxygen atoms on the reactant side. On the product side, we have the two iron atoms and three oxygen atoms. Whenever we have an equation where we have an odd number, try to get that to an even number. For this equation, put 2 in front of the product side, Fe2O3. So the 2, it applies to everything on product side. So we have 2 times 2, so that will give us 4 iron atoms. But we have the 2 times 3 on oxygen, so that gives us 6 oxygen atoms. Now to fix this on the reactant side, we could put a 3 in front of the O2, so 2 times 3, that would give us 6. And then we have 4 ions on the product side. Just put a coefficient of 4 in front of the ion, so 1 times 4, that will give us 4. Now everything is the same on both sides, so the equation is balanced. To calculate the mass, just simply multiply the number of atoms with relative atomic mass. So for the reactant side, the relative atomic mass for iron is 56 and the oxygen is 32. So 4 times 56 plus 3 times 32 equal to 320 grams. For the product side, the relative atomic mass for iron oxide is 160. So 2 times 160, that will give us 320 grams. Now the total mass of both sides are same.
The common method that we usually use is called inspection method. So step 1, write the equation to show the reactant and product. For example, titanium chloride plus H2O as a reactant and titanium oxide plus HCl as a product. Now, step 2, write down how many atoms for each element that are on each side of the reaction arrow. So we can see now for the titanium chloride plus H2O, there are 1 atoms for titanium, 4 atoms for chloride, 2 atoms for hydrogen, and 1 atoms for oxygen. Meanwhile, for the product side, there is titanium oxide plus hydrogen chlorine. We have 1 atom for titanium, 1 atom for chlorine, 1 atom for hydrogen, and 2 atoms for oxygen. We can clearly see that the number of atoms for the each elements are not balanced. So what we have to do now, move to the step 3. add coefficient to balance mass in the chemical equation. So basically we have to make the equation balance. So first let us look at the titanium. We can see that both sides of the titanium's number are balanced. They got 1 atoms per each. Now let's move to the chlorine. For the reactant side, we have 4 atoms of chlorine, meanwhile for the product side, we just have 1 atom for chlorine, which clearly say that it's not balanced. So now we just have to make it balanced with add on 3 more atoms to the product side. So 1 plus 3 equals to 4. So the chlorine is balanced now. Move to the next element, hydrogen. On the right side, we have 2 atoms of hydrogen. And on the product side, we have 1 atoms of hydrogen only. So we just have to make it balanced. We add 3 atoms on the product side and 2 atoms on the react side. So now the hydrogen are balanced. So lastly, oxygen, we just have to make it balanced with add more 1 atoms on the reactant side. So now oxygen are balanced. Final equation that we have is that titanium chloride plus 2H2O go to titanium oxide plus 4HCl.
So now that we know about the inspection method, we can try a problem statement. So we can test ourselves by balancing this equation, which is phosphoric chloride plus H2O produces phosphoric acid plus hydrogen chloride. So as we can see here, on the reaction side, we see that phosphorus, there's only 1 atom, and for chlorine, we have 5, hydrogen 2, and oxygen 1. Meanwhile, for the product side, we have 1 atom of phosphorus, 1 atom of chlorine, and 1 atom for hydrogen, and 4 atoms of oxygen. Now, it seems a bit too difficult to balance the equation using the inspection method. So what do we do now? Ayman has a solution, doesn't he?
The other method that we can use to balance a chemical equation, a far more complex chemical equation, is by using the A method. A method, short for algebraic invented method, or better known as AIM. These are the steps to use the AIM method. Step 1, write down the given equation. The given equation is phosphorus pentachloride plus H2O becomes phosphoric acid plus hydrochloric acid. Step 2, assign a letter to each substance. You can use any letter in the alphabet. Do not use numbers because it may confuse you when doing this method. Step 3 is to check the number of each element found on both sides and set those equal to each other. On the left side, there are 2 B atoms of hydrogen, 2 for every hydrogen atoms of H2O. On the right side, there's 3 C plus D atoms of hydrogen, 3 for every hydrogen atoms of H3PO4, and 1 every hydrogen atom of HCl. Since the number of atoms of hydrogen has to be equal on both sides, 2B must be equal to 3C plus D. You will get P, A equals C, phosphorus, chlorine for 5A equals D, hydrogen, 2B equals 3C plus D. Step 4, solve the system of equations to get the numeric value for all the coefficients. Since there are more variables than equations, there are multiple solutions. You must find the one where every variable is in its smallest non-fractional form. Since phosphorus A equals C, we know that C is 1. Since chlorine 5A equals D, we know that D is equal to 5. And since hydrogen or 2B equals 3C plus D, we can calculate B. So B equals 4. The final equation that you will get is 3Cl5 plus 4H2O and H3PO4 plus 5HCl.
So, in conclusion from our project, the algebraic invented method is way easier to do compared to the inspection method. This is because inspection method requires more knowledge and quite hard to understand for beginners. Therefore, AIM is a helpful method for chemistry learners to write a balanced equation. Thus, AIM is the alternative method and AIM is the choice method. Thank
Thank
you.
you very
Thank you.
much.